Welcome to the American Diversity Report podcasts. I'm your host, Deborah Levine, Editor-in-Chief of the American Diversity Report. Here is where we're going to interview changemakers, diverse innovators. And with us today is Dr. Elwood Watson. He is Professor of History and African American Studies at East Tennessee State University. He specializes in African American history, gender studies, popular culture, and ethnographic studies. He's one of the editors of Mentoring Faculty of Color, essays on professional development and advancement in colleges and universities. And he received the Faculty Teaching Award and Faculty Distinguished Research Award from the College of Arts and Sciences. Welcome, Elwood.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Deborah.
Oh, a pleasure. Absolutely. So tell me, how long have you been a professor and how did you get involved in this particular field?
Well, I've been at East Tennessee State University for 23 years, and I got into academia in a roundabout, a roundabout way, but I took a class in British history at the University of Delaware during my sophomore year, and the professor at that time thought I'd done okay in the class, but he felt that I had potential, and these are his words, not mine. He said, "You're a diamond in the rough as far as I'm concerned academically. So would you and please stay in touch with me every now and then. I'd like to see, and keep up with you and see how you're doing." I said I'd be happy to do so. And it was really interesting. He was coming. It was about I guess the spring of 1988. I was going into I was still a sophomore, spring of sophomore year, and I was going to be a junior that fall. He was walking toward the campus. I was leaving campus, and when we got within speaking distance of one another, he asked me, "How would you like to be a college professor one day?" And I said, "Well, I've never given too much thought about it because I hadn't, and I didn't know if I was going to go that route." But he goes, "Why don't you come by my office, schedule an appointment with my secretary in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about it." So we got the ball rolling on that, and I took several courses with professors at the University of Delaware, whose classes I liked quite a bit, and he just became the chair of the department, so that helped a lot too. And that following fall, and pretty much got my master's at Delaware, and then went on to the University of Maine and earned my doctorate. And in the 90s, race and gender were very, very popular subject matters, and there was a big effort to diversify faculty at that particular time too, because academia was still overwhelmingly homogeneous, white and male, and a lot of elements of luck, clicked together, between luck and timing and hard work and just, persuasion, and just a lot of factors resulted in me becoming a college professor.
I gather you're enjoying it quite a bit.
I do like what I do. Yes, I like it. I think in academia, it's a blessing to be able to be in a profession that you love to do. And in any profession, if you like the work, it is a blessing. And yes, I do like to disseminate knowledge to the larger public as well. And when I think about my work, I try to make it not just confined to other academics. I certainly try to have it, that my work can be useful to the larger public as well.
Good, good. What kind of larger public are we talking about?
The American public, I would say, certainly my work is very relevant to journalists. It's relevant to, I guess you could say people who study, entertainment, popular culture, and people who, have regular 9-to-5 jobs, but also keep abreast of what's going on in the world of politics or, pop culture, gender issues, race issues as well. So I think that the mass public, I think my work is accessible to the mass public in addition to just academics. And I think that is highly important today because one criticism of academia, I think a criticism, and it's somewhat valid, is that some academics tend to write for one another, and they don't. They write in an esoteric voice, and they don't seem to write for the public. And I'm not sure how really that helps the public, especially when you're supposed to be. That's one of the common arguments of academics that they're designed to help the public. Well, if you're writing only for other publics and for other academics, or you're using, erudite language 24/7, and you're, not really necessarily breaking down material that can certainly be of comprehended by rank and file Americans. I'm not sure how effective that is helping the public. So, and I think that it's
Yes.
crucial. I think that we now more than ever, because I think that academia is kind of coming under pretty intense criticism from the larger world, segments of the larger world, particularly the right, political right, and others, as being irrelevant and self-serving and not as unfair and as unjust, but public perception. If you're not aware, and a lot of people in the public are not really aware of academic. I think there's a perception of academia that many of us are elitist. You make these large salaries, which academia you don't go to academia for the money, okay? But if you want to go into money, you go into business, you go into law, and that's where you're going to make your money. If you go, that's what academia is, for the love of teaching and the passion for
Yes.
acquiring knowledge and research. So I think the perception is we're these Marxists, these radical Marxists, and we tell students about the evil of capitalism, and we indoctrinate them to be radical leftist, almost even Marxist, and to hate the United States. I see that's a dramatic description, but I think there are people out in the larger public who've been have heard that line so many times in certain quarters that they begin to believe that, and they adopt that perception. And I think that's where academia has to really rebut such a misnomer, and let people know that we definitely are very committed to dispensing public knowledge that the public can be able to utilize in its own day-to-day lives.
Well, it certainly is a theory that is out there, unfortunately, and I wish it weren't. People like yourself, who do a great deal of research and writing and speaking, have a great deal to add to the conversation today, and I'm glad you are doing so.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And especially at a time in February, which is Black History Month, we need to hear about that history and what it means. How do you feel about the Black History Month phenomenon? Is it something that is helping get your message out, or is it obsolete?
I wouldn't say it's obsolete. I think Black History Month is important and is good, but I think that we need to study history of all people 12 months of the year. I don't think I don't think we should, after March 1st, go back to quote unquote business as usual, which people have a tendency to do. And I think there are a lot of history months out there. I think March. Speaking of March is Women's History Month,
Yeah.
and I think there's Hispanic History Month is May. So a lot of groups now have their own History Month. Now, Black History Month has been the longest running History Month, and it started off as Black History Week for the longest time until 1976 under President Gerald Ford, when it officially became Black History Month. And it is certainly I feel that like anything else, it's had its supporters as well as detractors. Obviously, I'm a supporter of it, but I think we need to study Black history, like I said, every single month of the year. We need to really. It shouldn't be confined to a month. Now, can it be highlighted even more so and be intensified? There's nothing wrong with that, but people should want to come should want to hear Black speakers in April. They should want to hear them in September. They should want to hear them in November. They should want to hear them throughout the year. So after April 1st or 2nd, you should not want to go back to business as usual. You should want to hear what women have to say about women's history in January, February,
Thank you.
June, all throughout the year. So I think any group of people, we need to learn about history 24/7. It shouldn't be just confined to one specific month.
What does learning about history do for us? How can it benefit each individual and society too?
Oh Lord, Deborah, that's a whole. I could talk to you 9 o'clock about that, but I'll have to bring it in. History is very, very crucial. I think history is. I always say myself, we reside in history. Okay, we reside in history. History is a part of our lives, whether we acknowledge that point or not. It is very crucial at many levels. And if you don't learn from the past, it's very, very likely that you're condemned, to repeat it. And I feel that history is very, very one of the most crucial disciplines of all. It's the mother of all disciplines, and you have to know your history. People who don't know their history are lost people, and I feel that it is very, very pertinent. An example I would use is there was a representative from Alabama who said at the time, this is about 15, 20 years ago, his granddaughter said, so she's a grown woman now probably, he said, "Grandpa, what is the big deal about Rosa Parks? All she did was refuse to give up her seat to a man." And I thought, to me, that was a litmus test as to why history needs to be taught in public schools.
Mm.
She did not understand the dynamics of how of that as well. And granted, she was a 6-year-old girl, but at the time, young little child. But the point is, it is crucial that we learn history and know our history, because so many people, even now, I'd say more so than ever, they have a very minimal amount of history, and they don't understand the struggles and history. Struggle is the best word to use, that their ancestors or their forebears, others, went through in an effort to achieve goals that many of them benefit from today, and they don't realize that those goals could certainly be in jeopardy, peril, if certain people are able to enact their own agendas, whether it's, like you said, right-wing extremists or whoever the case may be, who want to really kind of, to use that expression, turn back the clock, and
Mm-hmm.
if they could. And we have to making sure ever vigilant that history is at the forefront of every young person, middle-aged person, older person, and keep them reminded of what was in the past. And if not careful, the past could very well return if we get too complacent.
How true, how very true. Thank you for articulating it, because I think we need to hear that much more frequently these days.
Indeed.
People seem to not have that context, and whatever context they do have is been mistranslated, misconstrued into something very strange.
Correct.
Yes. And that's why your latest book is so helpful. And tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, it is. The book is entitled "Keeping It Real: Essays on Race in Contemporary America," and it was published by the University of Chicago Press in the fall of 2019. The book is a collection of essays on various topics, particularly during the latter years of the Obama administration and now in the current era of the Trump administration. And it looks at various essays on race, and it has a racial angle, each essay does, from issues of, race, pop culture, violence against people of color, politics, and the like. There are some essays on that transcend racial lines. There's an essay on Roseanne Barr. There's an essay on Bill Maher, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman out of New York City, a young congresswoman, a millennial congresswoman. And there's also essays on the alt-right, President Obama, Michelle Obama, essays on Prince, the late Prince, artist Prince, essays on Donald Trump, needs to say President Trump, and there is, essays on a variety of topics as they relate to race in the current era.
That sounds like you've covered quite a bit of ground on that.
Try to, yes, I think it is. It's a very diverse. It's a very diverse collection of essays. Yes.
I know that the essays that I've read were very fascinating in their analysis of what was going on, in the context of these people, and the meaning of them in our popular culture. It was great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think everybody needs to read it's very, very easily read. This is not something for academia, folks. This is for everyone to pick up and read and understand, not just the history, but what it means today. And it's wonderful to be able to go through this book and see in so many ways what the African American community is experiencing and has experienced. I so appreciate your writing this.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that as well, and I think you've given a very, very apt description of the book yourself. So thank you.
Well, it was a really fascinating read, and one of the things that I always look for in a book is, can you put it down? And the answer is no, you keep reading. That's how your book is. You keep reading.
Appreciate it.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, since we're on the book, I think that I'd like your listeners to know that the book can be purchased, and I think it's a very timely book, as you've so eloquently stated, and I appreciate that. It can be purchased on Amazon or any bookstore chain, major bookstore chain, or you order it, and any pretty much it's available at any ordering capacity. And I would really encourage all of your listeners and others, and for them to encourage their relatives, friends, and so people in their social circle to purchase the book, because I think it's something that could be an ideal book for book clubs. I think it could be ideal for if there's any professors out there, class adoption or teachers.
Yes.
I think it's something that could be very, very useful. Just for personal reading. So I think it's a very, very timely book, and I would encourage anybody out of your listeners to certainly purchase it and share it with friends and others and get the conversation going.
So tell them, our audience, the title of the book again.
Yes, it's called Keeping It Real, Essays on Race in Contemporary America, and it's by myself, obviously, Elwood Watson.
There you go, audience. You've got your pen and paper, hopefully, or computer there to write that down. Dr. Elwood Watson is giving you a chance to read something very special about the African American experience and the American experience in general. So thank you, Dr. Watson, for coming on our podcast and sharing your work and your perceptions of what's going on and how others can be enlightened by them. And audience, thank you so much for joining us once again for the American Diversity Report podcasts.